Skopje is the capital and largest city of the Republic of Macedonia. It is the country's political, cultural, economic, and academic center. It was known in the Roman period under the name Scupi. The territory of Skopje has been inhabited since at least 4000 BC. Remains of Neolithic settlements have been found within the old Kale Fortress that overlooks the modern city center. On the eve of the 1st century AD, the settlement was seized by the Romans and became a military camp. When the Roman Empire was divided into eastern and western halves in 395 AD, Scupi came under Byzantine rule from Constantinople. During much of the early medieval period, the town was contested between the Byzantines and the Bulgarian Empire, whose capital it was between 972 and 992. From 1282, the town was part of the Serbian Empire and acted as its capital city from 1346. In 1392, the city was conquered by the Ottoman Turks, who called the town Uska. The town stayed under Turkish control for over 500 years, serving as the capital of Pasha Sanjak of Uskub and later the Vilayet of Kosovo. At the time, the city was famous for its Oriental architecture. In 1912, it was annexed by the Kingdom of Serbia during the Balkan Wars, and after the First World War the city became part of the newly formed Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes. In the Second World War the city was conquered by the Bulgarian army, which was part of the Axis powers. In 1944, it became the capital city of Democratic Macedonia, which was a federal state, part of Democratic Federal Yugoslavia. The city developed rapidly after World War II, but this trend was interrupted in 1963 when it was hit by a disastrous earthquake. In 1991, it became the capital city of an independent Macedonia. Skopje is located on the upper course of the Vardar River and is located on a major north-south Balkan route between Belgrade and Athens. It is a center for metal processing, chemical, timber, textile, leather, and printing industries. Industrial development of the city has been accompanied by development of the trade, logistics, and banking sectors, as well as an emphasis on the fields of transportation, culture, and sport. According to the last official count from 2002, Skopje has a population of 506,926 inhabitants. According to two more recent unofficial estimates, the city has a population of 668,518 to 491,000 inhabitants. Geography. Topography. Skopje is located in the north of the Republic of Macedonia, in the center of the Balkan Peninsula, and halfway between Belgrade and Athens. The city is built in the Skopje Valley, oriented on a west-east axis, along the course of the Vardar River, which flows into the Aegean Sea in Greece. The valley is approximately 20 kilometers wide and it is limited by several mountain ranges to the north and south. These ranges limit the urban expansion of Skopje, which spreads along the Vardar and the Sarava, a small river which comes from the north. In its administrative boundaries, the city of Skopje stretches for more than 33 kilometers, but it is only 10 kilometers wide. Skopje is approximately 245 meters above sea level and covers 571.46 square kilometers. The urbanized area only covers 337 square kilometers, with a density of 65 inhabitants per hectare. Skopje, in its administrative limits, encompasses many villages and other settlements, including Drasovo, Gorno Nerezi and Bardovci. According to the 2002 census, the city of Skopje comprised 506,926 inhabitants, whereas the sole urban area only comprised 444,800 inhabitants. The city of Skopje reaches the Kosovo border to the northeast. clockwise. It is also bordered by the Macedonian municipalities of Kusa-Sandevo, Lipkovo, Aracinovo, Ilinden, Studenikani, Sopista, Zelenor and Jeganovska. Hydrography. The Vardar River, which flows through Skopje, is at approximately 60 kilometers from its source near Gostava. In Skopje, its average discharge is 51 cubic meters per second, with a wide amplitude depending on seasons, between 99.6 cubic meters per second in May and 18.7 cubic meters per second in July. The water temperature is comprised between 4.6 degrees Celsius in January and 18.1 degrees Celsius in July. Several rivers meet the Vardar within the city boundaries. The largest is the Treska, which is 130 kilometers long. It crosses the Matkar Canyon before reaching the Vardar on the western extremity of the city of Skopje. The Lepenak, coming from Kosovo, flows into the Vardar on the northwestern end of the urban area. The Sarava, also coming from the north, had flowed through the old bazaar until the 1960s, when it was diverted towards the west because its waters were very polluted. Originally, it met the Vardar close to the seat of the Macedonian Academy of Sciences and Arts. Nowadays, it flows into the Vardar near the ruins of Scupi. Finally, the Markova Reka, the source of which is on Mount Vodno, meets the Vardar at the eastern extremity of the city. These three rivers are less than 70 kilometers long. The city of Skopje comprises two artificial lakes, located on the Treska. The Lake Matkar is the result of the construction of a dam in the Matkar Canyon in the 1930s, and the Treska Lake was dug for leisure purpose in 1978. Three small natural lakes can be found near Smiljkovci, on the northeastern edge of the urban area. The River Vardar historically caused many floods, such as in 1962, when its outflow reached 1,110 cubic meters per second -1. Several works have been carried since Byzantine times to limit the risks, and since the construction of the Kozjak Dam on the Treska in 1994, the flood risk is close to zero. The subsoil contains a large water table which is alimented by the Vardar River and functions as an underground river. Under the table lies an aquifer contained in marl. The water table is 4 to 12 meters under the ground and 4 to 144 meters deep. Several wells collect its waters, but most of the drinking water used in Skopje comes from a karstic spring in Rasa, located west of the city. Geology. The Skopje Valley is bordered on the west by the Sau Mountains, on the south by the Jakupica Range, on the east by hills belonging to the Osogovo Range, and on the north by the Skopska Sierra Gora. Mount Vodno, the highest point inside the city limits, is 1,066 meters high and is part of the Jakupica Range. Although Skopje is built on the foot of Mount Vodno, the urban area is mostly flat. It comprises several minor hills generally covered with woods and parks, such as Gazi Barber Hill, Zajčev, the foothills of Mount Vodno, and a promontory on which Kale Fortress is built. The Skopje Valley is located near a seismic fault between the African and Eurasian tectonic plates and experiences regular seismic activity. This activity is enhanced by the porous structure of the subsoil. Large earthquakes occurred in Skopje in 518, 1505 and 1963. The Skopje Valley belongs to the Vardar geotectonic region, the subsoil of which is formed of Neogenic and Quaternary deposits. The substratum is made of Pliocene deposits including sandstone, marl and various conglomerates. It is covered by a first layer of Quaternary sands and silt, which is between 70 and 90 meters deep. The layer is topped by a much smaller layer of clay, sand, silt and gravel, carried by the Vardar River. It is between 1.5 and 5.2 meters deep. In some areas, the subsoil is karstic. It led to the formation of canyons, such as the Matkar Canyon, which is surrounded by 10 caves. They are between 20 and 176 meters deep. Climate. The climate of Skopje is usually classified as continental sub-Mediterranean, while according to the Köppen climate classification it has a humid subtropical climate, with a mean annual temperature of 13.5 degrees Celsius. Precipitation is relatively low due to the pronounced rain shadow of the Protlatij Mountains to the northwest, being only a quarter of what is received on the Adriatic Sea coast at the same latitude. The summers are long, hot and humid. Skopje's average July high is 31 degrees Celsius. On average, Skopje will see 88 days above 30 degrees Celsius each year, and 10.2 days above 35.0 degrees Celsius every year. Winters are short, relatively cold, and wet. Snowfalls are common in the winter period, but heavy snow accumulation is rare and the snow cover lasts only for a few hours or a few days if heavy. In summer, temperatures are usually above 31 degrees Celsius and sometimes above 40 degrees Celsius. In spring and autumn, the temperatures range from 15 to 24 degrees Celsius. In winter, the day temperatures are roughly 6 degrees Celsius, but at nights they often fall below 0 degrees Celsius and sometimes below -10 degrees Celsius. Typically, temperatures throughout 1 year range from -13 degrees Celsius to 39 degrees Celsius. Occurrences of precipitation are evenly distributed throughout the year, being heaviest from October to December and from April to June. Nature and environment. The city of Skopje encompasses various natural environments and its fauna and flora are rich. However, it is threatened by the intensification of agriculture and the urban extension. The largest protected area within the city limits is Mount Vodno, which is a popular leisure destination. A cable car connects its peak to the downtown, and many pedestrian paths run through its woods. Other large natural spots include the Matkar Canyon. The city itself comprises several parks and gardens amounting to 4,361 hectares. Among these are the city park, built by the Ottoman Turks at the beginning of the 20th century, Zina Boreg Park, located in front of the Parliament, the University Arboretum, and Gazi Barber Forest. Many streets and boulevards are planted with trees. Skopje experiences many environmental issues which are often overshadowed by the economic poverty of the country. However, alignment of Macedonian law on European law has brought progress in some fields, such as water and waste treatment, and industrial emissions. Steel processing, which a crucial activity for the local economy, is responsible for soil pollution with heavy metals such as lead, zinc and cadmium, and air pollution with nitrogen oxide and carbon monoxide. Vehicle traffic and district heating plants are also responsible for air pollution. The highest pollution levels usually occur in autumn and winter. Water treatment plants are being built, but much polluted water is still discharged and treated into the Vardar. Waste is disposed of in the open-air municipal landfill site, located 15 kilometers north of the city. Every day, it receives 1,500 cubic meters of domestic waste and 400 cubic meters of industrial waste. Health levels are better in Skopje than in the rest of the Republic of Macedonia, and no link has been found between the low environmental quality and the health of the residents. Urbanism. Urban morphology. The urban morphology of Skopje was deeply impacted by the 26th of July 1963 earthquake which destroyed 80% of the city and by the reconstruction that followed. For instance, neighborhoods were rebuilt in such a way that the demographic density remains low to limit the impact of potential future earthquakes. Reconstruction following the 1963 earthquake was mainly conducted by the Polish architect Adolf Sborowski, who had already planned the reconstruction of Warsaw after World War II. Sborowski divided the city in blocks dedicated to specific activities. The banks of the Vardar River became natural areas and parks. Areas located between the main boulevards were built with high-rise housing and shopping malls, and the suburbs were left to individual housing and industry. Reconstruction had to be quick in order to relocate families and to relaunch the local economy. To stimulate economic development, the number of thoroughfares was increased and future urban extension was anticipated. The south bank of the Vardar River generally comprises high-rise tower blocks, including the vast Karpoš neighborhood which was built in the 1970s west of the center. Towards the east, the new municipality of Aerodrome was planned in the 1980s to house 80,000 inhabitants on the site of the old airport. Between Karpoš and Aerodrome lies the city center, rebuilt according to plans by Japanese architect Kenzo Tange. The center is surrounded by a row of long buildings suggesting a wall. On the north bank, where the most ancient parts of the city lie, the old bazaar was restored and its surroundings were rebuilt with low-rise buildings, so as not to spoil views of the Skopje Fortress. Several institutions, including the university and the Macedonian Academy, were also relocated on the north bank in order to reduce borders between the ethnic communities. Indeed, the north bank is mostly inhabited by Muslim Albanians, Turks and Roma, whereas Christian ethnic Macedonians predominantly reside on the south bank. The earthquake left the city with few historical monuments, apart from the Ottoman Old Bazaar, and the reconstruction, conducted between the 1960s and 1980s, turned Skopje into a modernist but grey city. At the end of the 2000s, the city centre experienced profound changes. An urban project, Skopje 2014, was adopted by the municipal authorities in order to give the city a more monumental and historical aspect, and thus to transform it into a proper national capital. Several neoclassical buildings destroyed in the 1963 earthquake were rebuilt, including the National Theatre, and streets and squares were refurbished. Many other elements were also built, including fountains, statues, hotels, government buildings and bridges. The project has been criticized because of its cost and its historicist aesthetics. The large Albanian minority felt it was not represented in the new monuments and launched side projects, including a new square over the boulevard that separate the city center from the old bazaar. Some areas of Skopje suffer from a certain anarchy because many houses and buildings were built without consent from the local authorities. Localities and villages outside of the urban area. The city of Skopje encompasses many small settlements. Some of them are becoming outer suburbs, such as Sinčelik, located on the road to Belgrade, which has more than 23,000 inhabitants, and Drasovo, which has almost 20,000 inhabitants. Other large settlements are located north of the city, such as Radusani, with 9,000 inhabitants, whereas smaller villages can be found on Mount Vodno or in Saraj municipality, which is the most rural of the 10 municipalities that form the city of Skopje. Some localities located outside the city limits are also becoming outer suburbs, particularly in Ilinden and Petrovac municipality. They benefit from the presence of major roads, railways and the airport, located in Petrovac. Urban sociology. Skopje is an ethnically diverse city, and its urban sociology primarily depends on ethnic and religious belonging. Macedonians form 66% of the city population, while Albanians and Roma account respectively for 20% and 6%. Each ethnic group generally restricts itself to certain areas of the city. Macedonians live south of the Vardar, in areas massively rebuilt after 1963, and Muslims live on the northern side, in the oldest neighborhoods of the city. These neighborhoods are considered more traditional, whereas the south side evokes to Macedonians modernity and rupture from rural life, the northern areas of the poorest. This is especially true for Topana, in Kale municipality, and for Suta-Orazari municipality, which are the two main Roma neighborhoods. They are made of many illegal constructions not connected to electricity and water supply, which are passed from a generation to the other. Topana, located close to the old bazaar, is a very old area. It was first mentioned as a Roma neighborhood in the beginning of the 14th century. It has between 3,000 and 5,000 inhabitants. Suta-Orazari, located on the northern edge of the city, is a municipality of its own, with Romani as its local official language. It was developed after the 1963 earthquake to accommodate Roma who had lost their house. The population density varies greatly from an area to the other. So does the size of the living area per person. The city average was at 19.41 square meters per person as of 2002, but at 24 square meters in Centaur on the south bank, and only 14 square meters in Kare on the north bank. In Suta-Orazari, the average was at 13 square meters. Toponymy. The current name of the city comes from Scupi, which was the name of a Roman colony located nearby. However, before the colony was created, the site had already been settled by Illyrians, and Scupi is probably of Illyrian origin. The meaning of that name is unknown. After antiquity, Scupi was occupied by various people and consequently its name was translated several times in several languages. Thus Scupi became Skopje for Bulgarians, and later Uskub for the Turks. This name was adapted in Western languages in Uskub or Uska, and these two appellations were used in the Western world until 1912. Some Western sources also cite Skopje and Skopje. When Vardar Macedonia was annexed by the Kingdom of Serbia in 1912, the city officially became Skopje, and this name was adopted by many languages. The city eventually became Skopje after the Second World War, when Standard Macedonian became the official language of the Socialist Republic of Macedonia. The Albanian minority calls the city Scup and Scupi, the latter being the definite form, and Roma call it Skopje.